Our top story: heavy rains have brought India's IT capital Bengaluru to its knees once again. But this time around, civic apathy isn't restricted to inconvenience. A vacation turned into a disaster for a family from Andhra Pradesh. Their vehicle, which had 7 people including a driver, got stuck in a flooded underpass at the KR Circle, leaving them with nowhere to go. Quick operations by the fire officials ensured most of them were rescued in time, but sadly, one of them died. Now, the deceased has been identified as 22-year-old Bhanu Rekha, who worked with a tech firm. The new Chief Minister, Siddaramaiah, immediately rushed to the incident spot and took stock of the situation. He has announced ₹5 lakh ex gratia for the deceased and free treatment for other members of the family. All right, I have with me on the broadcast Prashant GS, who is the spokesperson of the BJP from Karnataka, and we have Bhavya N Murthy, who is the spokesperson of the Congress. Many thanks for joining us here on Mirror Now. I would request you to please stay on with us. We do also have a caller, which is DC Gupta, who's calling us from Kolkata. Let's quickly listen into him and then we'll begin the discussion. DC Gupta, many thanks for calling us here on Mirror Now. What is your first reaction to this kind of a tragedy which has, which we are learning of from Bengaluru? We are learning that a 22-year-old died while her car got stuck in an underpass in Bengaluru.
Yeah, Bengaluru is the IT capital city of India. बट लॉट्स ऑफ करोड़ों अरबों रुपये जो म्यूनिसिपल टैक्स आता है वो पैसा अगर सही ढंग से अगर यूटिलाइज हो तो आज ये हालत नहीं होगा. तो बैंक से बहुत देख के दुख हो रहा है. उसका जो करोड़ों अरबों रुपये म्यूनिसिपल टैक्स आता है उसका सही यूटिलाइज होना चाहिए. बट ड्यू टू करप्शन इसका आज इसके ये हाल है. चाहे बेंगलोर हो, चाहे मुंबई हो, चाहे चेन्नई हो, सब जगह ये हाल है.
ऑलराइट, all right, thank you so much for calling us here on Mirror Now and sharing your views. Let me pose that to, in fact, Bhavya, who is with us on the broadcast. Bhavya, what do you have to say? We have a caller from Kolkata, DC Gupta, going on to say that all these cases, these tragic incidents are occurring mostly due to corruption.
You know, first of all, it's really painful to see a young woman, like as young as 22 years old, losing her life, you know, due to this flooding. And last year, more than 100 people lost their lives in the state during monsoon. Before attributing this to corruption of the previous BJP government, yes, the 40% government, the first thing is about how sad we all feel. And the next thing is about our chief minister has rushed to the spot and made sure he visited the family. I would like to mention that. And coming to this, yes, because of this 40% commission and poor construction, poor use of materials, that is the main reason why this is happening in a city like Bengaluru. And this has become a big news because, you know, we have lost one life. Otherwise, also everywhere else in Bengaluru, this is the case. People are stuck in traffic and there is waterlogged everywhere. Yes, this is a huge problem, and mostly because, you know, also there are no corporators. The local government in Bengaluru doesn't exist. The elections were due in 2020 and the previous BJP government didn't even think, you know, it was necessary to conduct elections so that, you know, people will have elected representatives for each ward to take care of these emergencies.
All right, let's also quickly get in a word from Prashant GS on this. Prashant GS, how would you like to respond to what Bhavya is saying? She's of course going on to blame the BJP, the previous BJP government for cases like these.
Ashna, firstly, what has happened is an unfortunate event which should not have happened. And before getting on to whether Congress is to be blamed or BJP is to be blamed, one must admit that probably as a society, we have failed the victim of circumstances here. Because if you look at the growth of Bangalore the last 10 years, I say 10 years, 2013 onwards, for 6.5 years from 2013, Congress was in power. And only for the last 3.5 years, we have been in power. So therefore, it is completely insensitive and inappropriate on part of the Congress spokesperson, my good friend Bhavya, to make a mention that it is because of BJP government that something has happened. Firstly, we must understand Bangalore is growing by leaps and bounds, and more so in the last 10 years. It's grown beyond people's imagination across the world, which is why we are leading in most other facets in terms of IT development and FDI's unicorns and so on and so forth. But we do understand, yes, there is a requirement, probably immediately. It should have been done probably over the period of time. For whatever reasons, it has been lacking. But only we hope that Congress now, which has been saying that we have not done something in the last 3.5 years, forgetting that they were in power for 6.5 years, probably they need to put their hands up together and ensure that this mess doesn't repeat again. It's not about which government to be blamed. Bangalore has grown, I'm telling you, repeat by leaps and bounds.
But Mr. Prashant, I don't think Bangalore should grow at the cost of a life of a young woman. Bangalore, we can't say Bengaluru's growth will be at the cost of lives.
This is not the time to politicize
growth
the issue.
should happen along with the protection and safety of its citizens.
All right.
Bhavya, this is
And
not
there
the
should be
time to
people
politicize the
who
issue.
can listen
There's
to
a young
people's
woman who has
problems.
lost
There
her
should
life.
be
She probably
representatives
had a
at the
good
ground
career ahead of
level
her,
to
a good
listen to
family life ahead
people's
of her.
problems.
This
All
is
right,
completely
one moment.
Because your government
Bhavya,
is
I would really request for you to let Prashant GS complete. Prashant GS, as far as development is concerned, we are not at the moment speaking of development. We are speaking of this one particular case. And of course, questions are arising as to why wasn't enough done by the BJP government to ensure that underpasses don't get flooded. So can you reply to that specific question? Because this is not the first time such a tragedy has occurred.
If you look at most of the underpasses which have been constructed in the past decade or so, we have to look into probably the conditions in which it was constructed, to what extent it was feasible there, the waterlogging problems, and the coordination between different civic agencies at that point in time. Whether really the BWSSB and other things had a role to play there while permitting a particular underpass to come in a particular area. You've also seen other parts of Bangalore. It's not only this particular KR Circle thing. We also had the famous thing near the Kaveri Junction, which magic box, which they wanted to do it in 72 hours, which took more than 6 or 8 months. So that didn't happen in BJP regime. So therefore, let's not politicize the issue. We need to understand that, yes, there is civic communities to a certain extent have taken a beating in Bangalore. We need to increase it. We need to bring it on par with world-class facilities. But this is not the time to put the blame, more so by the Congress government who have just taken charge. They should not now wash away the responsibility to saying that last 3.5 years somebody didn't do something, forgetting that for the previous to that 6.5 years they were in power. So therefore, it is very insensitive on part of the Congress to blame the previous BJP government, and more so in this case when a young woman has lost her life. And we need to probably empathize with their family and understand what they'll be going through instead of blaming the BJP. I think Congress has to learn that in terms of this type of distress, they should keep politics aside and look into what they have been given a mandate of 135 seats by the people. They need to now look forward and ensure that this type of things don't happen.
Absolutely, I do agree with you, Prashant. Let me also bring in Bhavya on this again. Bhavya, what is the Congress's strategy going ahead in handling civic issues in the state?
First of all, it's not about politicizing. It's about holding someone responsible. For such incidents, we need to fix who's responsible for this and make sure it doesn't repeat. To just,
absolutely. So how is the Congress party going to make sure that now that the Congress is in power, Bhavya, how will the Congress handle civic issues in the state going forward?
Yes, we will definitely make sure that the BBMP elections will occur as soon as possible, will be held as soon as possible. One thing, so that people will have someone to go to, representatives at the ground level. Second, we will make sure all the underpasses, so wherever Bengaluru, wherever there is due to rains, and we will make sure that proper maintenance happens and this doesn't repeat again. We'll make sure this at a priority, we will give this the most important priority, because the monsoon has begun and we don't want what happened last year, where more than 119 people lost their lives, to repeat again in state. So we'll make sure of that.
Right. We also have Sandeep Anirudhan who on the broadcast with us. Many thanks, Sandeep, for being with us here on Mirror Now. Sandeep, you are the founder of Citizens Agenda. Do give us a perspective. Of course, this entire issue is becoming political. The Congress is blaming the BJP is blaming the Congress. But from a citizen's point of view, what is the need of the hour?
See, obviously an underpass is a death trap in waiting, because if it doesn't have proper drainage, it will accumulate water. So that means the civic agency should be on its toes whenever there's a rain expected. Here, it obviously has not happened. But so that's about the official of that ward, the engineer probably, or not fulfilling his duty. So, but I'd like to go back to the politics of this. And I hold all parties responsible for one thing. Bengaluru does not have a a planning authority. Bengaluru does not have a planning authority since 1992, which is mandated by the constitution. A metropolitan planning committee is supposed to be the planning authority for the city, and it's supposed to plan what Bengaluru should be and what amenities it should have. Also, it has to have a holistic mobility plan, which will plan what kind of road network it should have, what kind of mobility infrastructure it should have. Because we don't have a planning authority, what happens is every project in Bengaluru is ad hoc. It doesn't seamlessly integrate with everything else in the city. 99% of all underpasses are actually not effective. It simply shifts any kind of road. Let's say if there is congestion on a road, it'll shift it from that point to another point. That's all. It doesn't solve the problem, because we don't have a holistic plan for the city. Now, for this, who do you hold responsible? From 1992 to now, how many governments have been in the state? And under the same 1992 Act, which is the 74th Amendment, the city is also supposed to have a decentralized and unified city government. Our government is not decentralized. I mean, the city government, the BBMP, it is not decentralized, it's not devolved, and it does not even have 90% of services of the city under it. You have 15 parastatals that do different things at its own, and I don't know which one of those parastatals controls this particular underpass and that road. This is the kind of mess the city is in. Now, which party do you hold it responsible for this mess? Both the parties have been in power multiple times in this period. So at the core of this issue is that our constitution is being violated. The 74th Amendment has not been implemented. In the last term, the BJP had specifically issued a manifesto with 150 points for Bengaluru. In that, it had clearly laid out that they would empower the Metropolitan Planning Committee as the planning authority. Zero, it has not done it. It had also said that they would issue a revised master plan within 90 days of it coming to power. After 4 years, we still don't have a revised master plan. Right now, Bengaluru is one of the largest cities in the world without a plan. We don't have a comprehensive development plan which is active. Can you imagine a city not having a plan? And we don't have a planning authority. We don't have competent officials. We don't have competent planners. This is probably the only large city in the world which does not have urban planners. It doesn't have transport planners. Who do you blame for this? Every government that has been there in the past. And every state government doesn't want to devolve or decentralize BBMP because they want to have their fingers in the till. They don't want to give up the revenues of Bengaluru. This corruption is what leads to this mess. This selfishness is what leads to this mess. All of these political parties are responsible for this mess. And they sit here and blame each other. Now, the Congress in this manifesto has only 20 points for the city of Bengaluru. BJP had 150 and they failed all 150 points because we put out a public poll and people actually voted on them. Not a single point that was in the Bengaluru manifesto of BJP in the last term got public to agree that they have carried it out. It is the biggest failure on earth. Now the Congress has a chance to disprove that they are as bad as the BJP. Their manifesto has only about 20-25 points focused on Bengaluru, and it actually talks about the same things. It talks about decentralization, it talks about the Metropolitan Planning Committee, it talks about setting up, implementing 74th Amendment and, decentralizing. Let us see if Congress will fulfill their manifesto. In the last term, we citizens were actually stupid. We were fools. We did not review the BJP's manifesto for the city every 6 months. Let me promise the Congress spokesperson here. This time we are not going to make that mistake. Every 6 months, we're going to do a public poll on whether you are fulfilling your manifesto to the city. And we're going to make a public publication of it.
Right.
And let's see if you live up to your manifesto promises. We won't make the mistake we did with the BJP because we did not do that review every 6 months.
Sandeep Anirudhan essentially saying that there is a dire need for a planning authority. I would request all of you to please continue to stay on with us. Let's first quickly listen in to this ground report which my colleague Neha is getting for us.
सर इफ यू कैन टेल अस फर्स्ट अभी अगर आप हमको बता सकते हैं कि क्या हुआ सर व्हाट वाज द फर्स्ट थिंग
मैंने तो मेरा काम देख के बाद मैं घर को जाने वाला था इस रास्ते में आने के टाइम उधर देखा आवाज मार रहा था सब लोग पानी के अंदर ऐसा देख के आवाज मार रहा था लेकिन क्या हुआ मुझे भी मालूम नहीं है फिर मेरा गाड़ी उधर छोड़ के मैं अंदर जाके देख लिया और कब तक फायर डिपार्टमेंट वाला भी आया था इसके बाद में देखा तो 7 आदमी लोग अंदर था ड्राइवर का फिर भी उसकी भी हाथ लगा थोड़ा 7 members total. At last we have tried to help him and we have brought him here.
News coming from Bengaluru that today because of the heavy rains our vehicle got stuck in this underpass right now where we are the KR circle. This particular underpass where we can see fire officials are draining the water in this underpass now. A family had come from Vijayawada and they had come to visit Bengaluru, especially the famous Kaban Park. When it started raining they took their vehicle, they came in this underpass. As you can see the underpass, as they came here there was knee deep water, but what we getting to know from locals is that the vehicle got stuck because the water entered the engine and it got submerged. And one of the girl, Banu Rekha, a tech employee, has died because of this asphyxiation. She was rushed to the Martha hospital, but before they could reach the hospital, that lady had already died. 6 other family members was rescued using a ladder. As you can see from the visuals, a particular ladder till there's that flyover, and then from there they were rescued, and some were using this, the lifeguards were rescued by the fire and safety officials.
All right, I want to first begin with Bhavya. Bhavya, I would also want to ask you about this particular aspect. We know that the Met Department had also issued a warning. They had also, forecasted that there's going to be heavy rain. Why were there not enough warnings issued in Bengaluru?
Yes, warnings. So the first thing is we didn't anticipate that this level of flooding would happen in KR Circle. And this is a disaster and a young woman had to lose her life. And I would first want to appreciate Mr. Sandeep, for the activism, and we will be really happy that,
I'm afraid I'm going to have to interrupt you there, Bhavya. We have a caller, Anita, who's calling us from Bengaluru. Anita, please go ahead. What is your reaction to this tragic news which is coming in that a 22-year-old has died because her vehicle got stuck under an underpass?
Yes.
Go ahead, Anita.
Yeah, good evening to you. Good evening to you. Hello? Yeah, good evening to you. Can you hear me?
Good evening, Anita.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
This is not something new. See, this is not something new. This BBMP civic agencies have not had elections for several years, right? And you can see any drain, even just on Banarghatta Road, you will see construction material, metro work material, concrete, table chairs are all in the drain. We have been writing in Bangalore Mirror. We have been calling the BBMP, but they don't do anything. There is no election for 3 years. So, Congress fighting is BJP, BJP fighting is Congress. It's not new. There is no solution. This civic agency has to be outsourced.
Absolutely, Anita, many thanks for joining us here on Mirror Now and sharing your views. So, of course, Anita, a resident of Bengaluru, calling and saying that there haven't really been any elections in the BBMP for the past 3 years. Let me go back to our guests. Bhavya, please go ahead.
Yeah, I can completely understand the fury and the anger that Ms. Anita expressed here. As a citizen of India and born and brought up in Bangalore, I really share that kind of pain that Anita expressed, and we will make sure to give this confidence. And that was my first point as well. The BBMP elections, which was not conducted since 2020, we will make sure that will happen that will be our priority first. And then there will be people, to take care of all these local issues, their own representatives, the councillors at ground level to take care of this. That will be a promise. And also, Mr. Sandeep spoke about a manifesto. Yes. Last time when Congress came to power with full majority, we delivered. We delivered 99% of our whatever we promised. Among 167 promises, 158 were fulfilled. And this time too, we will do that, sir. Not only that, we worked more than, Indira Canteen was not even in our manifesto. We came for people, starting from gig workers to auto drivers, domestic help, and to make sure they don't sleep hungry. So the same way, we will make sure we will keep up our promise, and we won't betray your trust in us. Like by voting us, no one in Karnataka will regret. We'll take care of that. We promise to take care of this, and hopefully no more such incidences happen where people will have to lose their life because of monsoon. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we have an assurance there from the Congress party that these incidents won't repeat in the future. Many thanks for joining us, Bhavya, Prashant and Sandeep on the broadcast and sharing your views. All right, and with that, we are slipping into a short break. News and updates will continue once we return.